Welcome guys to the Meet Damien channel. I am Damien, and today's video, I'm gonna mainly focus on some of the crowd favorite cryptocurrencies out there. There hasn't really been that much going on with Bitcoin. It's been trading sideways for most of this week, and a lot of choppiness in the market. And I think we just need to focus on the core cryptocurrencies out there that people love to trade and invest in, and try to figure out what the next move might be, whether we're going to the upside or downside, and what those targets might be. I have done some YouTube shorts about Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're going to talk about those two, as well as Solana and XRP today. And then I'll try to do some requests here, but I am going to keep this live stream short, mainly because I do have my father coming in for dinner later on tonight, and I gotta start cooking some dinner soon here for me and my dad. But yeah, let's get into it. We're looking at Bitcoin trading at $107,327. Okay. If we look at the weekly chart for Bitcoin, it was looking bleak earlier, mainly because of the crisis in the Middle East, but we are still getting a bullish engulfing green candle here versus what we had here the week prior to that, where we had a pretty solid red candle here. Bitcoin is up $6,300 for the week here, and we're up about 6.2% this week. So as much as we might be complaining that Bitcoin's not really doing much, we should be thankful and appreciative that Bitcoin was able to recover from the lows that it was at. You know, we had Bitcoin starting last Sunday at $100,900 Bitcoin, and I think we tend to forget that we made some progress here on the Bitcoin chart, at least for the week. We're trading at $107,000, and what's getting me really excited about Bitcoin is that we might be finishing the month of June with Bitcoin above $100,000. Okay, $100,000 Bitcoin is going to be a very good marketing tool for those who are not in crypto, for those who have left crypto and gave up on Bitcoin and crypto. When they hear Bitcoin at $100,000 and it's still at $100,000, that's going to start waking people up to the fact that Bitcoin is the real deal. There's money to be made in Bitcoin, and it's going to act as its own sales team and marketing team, and that's going to help out, hopefully, the altcoins later. But let's get into some chart analysis here. I do have a purple buy zone here on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin was to come down, right, this purple buy zone is anywhere between $93,000 and $97,000 Bitcoin. We came close to that last week, where we saw Bitcoin at $98,200, at least here on Coinbase Exchange. Let me go into the daily chart so you can see the moving averages. The moving averages are lining up pretty well, that if we do see Bitcoin for some reason lose its momentum and come down to lower prices here, we do have a lot of moving average support. We have the 200-day, which is this red line. The 50-day is the green line, and the 100 days is blue line. All those lines are sitting at like $95,000, $96,000 Bitcoin. So if we're lucky enough to actually get Bitcoin at $95,000, $96,000, I think we're gonna see people scooping up Bitcoin there. Mainly because we also have people that were buying Bitcoin at this area back here in late last week of April, first week of May of this year. And these people, they're still in profit. Okay, whoever bought here last week of April, first week of May for Bitcoin, put a 1 in the chat if you did buy some Bitcoin around that time. But you're still in profit. I don't know the complete statistic, but I believe about 95 to 99% of people that bought Bitcoin are actually in profit. That's a very proud thing that most people should be able to tell their friends and family and whoever is invested in Bitcoin and crypto here. Almost everybody that's in Bitcoin right now is profitable. Now, that could mean that we're near the top. All right, this could be a top. the thing that I'm worried about with Bitcoin is that we have seen the beginnings of a double top here. We saw Bitcoin top out at $112,000 here on Thursday, May 22nd. And then we came and we did another top here where we saw Bitcoin at $110,600 on June 9th here. This qualifies as a double top. Usually double tops means that we're probably most likely going to go down, but did we already see that move to the downside already? Okay, where we saw last Sunday, we saw Bitcoin at $98,000. Looks like we have made some lower highs here and lower lows, and now I'm still concerned. I'm excited that Bitcoin's at $100,000. Don't get me wrong, $107,000 looks really nice, but we're still on the fence here. Are we gonna make another lower high here, just like we made a lower high here on June 10th? Because if that's the case, then you know, that means we probably have to go down a little bit more, probably into this purple buy zone, to generate enough demand and excitement for Bitcoin to actually go up to higher prices. And you know what, guys? This is actually very similar to what we saw last summer, actually, right? Where Bitcoin, if anybody remembers, if anybody was in Bitcoin last summer, I mean, well, it started here in March where, you know, we saw Bitcoin at $73,000, almost $74,000 here on March 2024, and we kept making lower highs here in May. Did anybody remember that? Another lower high here in July. I think this was after the Bitcoin conference where you know, people got excited that Donald Trump actually showed up to the Bitcoin conference in July of 2024. And that was just another lower high, and we kept making lower highs until what? It wasn't until like September that we actually made a higher high than what we did here in August of 2024. So could that possibly be what we're going to see for the summer of 2025? If that's the case, then it's going to be sideways and boring. We're going to have to catch the lows when we see them, whatever lows that we perceive to be, and then, you know, maybe catch some moves to the upside here. But it looks like the summer of 2025 is kind of repeating the patterns here for the summer of 2024. Now, I got a good amount of people in my live stream chat here. Let me just say hello to some people here. I see Joe's in the chat. I see John316. I see Pennywise. That's a funny name. Chris is in here. Haven Peck. Appreciate you guys. Tech man, thank you, I guess. I see you in the chat as well. Appreciate it. You guys have been talking it up, getting this live stream blown up. I appreciate it. I'm also doing a TikTok live stream right now. Looks like my YouTube viewership is beating out my TikTok guys here. But I see MMA Esquires in the chat. Good to see you here. He says great stuff. Glad you like it so far. I am going to keep this live stream short because I do have to cook some dinner after this. But yeah, we're going to get into... I mean, we talked about Bitcoin just now. Where I could see prices going to the downside here. But I didn't actually talk about Bitcoin on the upside, okay? I'll do a quick Fibonacci analysis here. We're going to measure from basically where, you know, Bitcoin's, the swing low here from April 7th up to the price where it topped out here on May 22nd, where we saw $112,000 Bitcoin. Let me just quickly do a Fibonacci analysis, and we'll see what the 1618 has to say about where Bitcoin could possibly go here. So we came down to like $74,000 Bitcoin. We still have a 1618 here that says this blue number here, $135,000 Bitcoin could still be in the cards for all of us here later on in 2025. And I think that's possible. I mean, as long as Bitcoin stays above $100,000 and stays near all-time highs, the people that are out there in cryptocurrency are going to be more inclined to believe that Bitcoin could get to $130,000. I'm more inclined to believe that Bitcoin can get to $130,000. We're only, what, $23,000 away from it, and we know Bitcoin is capable of making these crazy moves. If I measure that out, how much of a percentage gain is that going to be if we continue being invested here in Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes up to 135 grand? That's about a 25% move. Do you really want to miss out on that 25% move if Bitcoin actually starts heading towards that target zone? I don't want to miss out. That's why I'm still in crypto, still in Bitcoin. If I was afraid of losing some money here on Bitcoin, then I could put my stop loss probably below this buy zone. I think if we lose $92,000 Bitcoin, it might be game over on this little rally here. And you know, maybe Bitcoin wants to see lower prices again. But yeah, I would, you know, just game plan for myself. I would put a stop loss at $92,000. I think if we lose $92,000 Bitcoin, you probably want to be out of Bitcoin, and we'll have to see what Bitcoin's going to do after that. But you don't want to lose too much money, right? And I think that's not too big of a loss here if we put the stop loss. Let's see, if we put the stop loss from where we are right now to $92,000 Bitcoin, you're going to lose about 14%, okay? That's a pretty generous stop loss, but I think most people can handle that, especially with the gains that we can get here in crypto. I think a 14% loss is it's to be expected in crypto, but it's manageable, right? It's manageable because you're looking for. I still think Bitcoin can get up to $200,000 later on this year, especially with us being at $107,000 and we're only halfway through the year. We know that most of the exponential price action happens in the third and fourth quarter of most years after the halving. The year after the halving, we usually get that explosive move to the upside. I would be disappointed if we don't, but I still think Bitcoin is capable of going to $200,000, and we do have a 2618 that says $173,000 Bitcoin and a 3618 that says $210,000 Bitcoin. Is still a possibility here. All right, moving on to, let's take a look at one of my favorites, which is Solana. Okay, Solana is not as bullish as Bitcoin. Solana is currently trading at $151, but it's up 6% today, so it's actually having a decent day today. The problem that Solana keeps running up against is this 200-day moving average, this red line here, is acting as resistance, and the traders and investors are out all around the world. They are respecting that as resistance for now. We have seen Solana get up to 180 bucks back in May. Let's see, we got it as high as $187 on May 23rd, right after Bitcoin made a new all-time high. But now this 200-day moving average, the bar to cross to get over that hump is now starting to lower here. We now have to see Solana get above $168 for us to be cautiously optimistic and bullish here on Solana. I'm still cautiously optimistic on Solana. We can still count this as a higher low. We do not want to see Solana lose this low, because then that probably means that we're still in a downtrend here. Right now, things are looking like this with Solana, you know, making lower highs, kind of like what Bitcoin's doing, right? And also making lower lows. So we're kind of almost in this descending channel here on Solana. If Solana is not able to basically get out of this downtrend that it's in, and it could happen tomorrow. If Solana just continues going up with the price action momentum that it has right now, we could get out of this downtrend tomorrow or later on tonight here. But if this gets rejected, then yeah, we could see Solana come right back down and respect this descending channel that it's in. And unfortunately, you're probably going to see maybe $120, maybe $110 Solana if we're not able to get out of this downtrend that we're currently in right now. I think we can still get out of this downtrend here with Solana. I wouldn't be surprised if Solana just, instead of maybe getting an explosive move to the upside, if maybe we just meander and just, you know, try to go sideways here. You can go sideways here on Solana and still get out of this downtrend that you're in. But yeah, you are currently in a downtrend on Solana. That's something that we have to watch out for, but you can still trade it, right? If you think that we're going to still be in this descending channel, then you can put in a short on Solana, try to see if this thing comes down. Probably, let's see. I mean, if you're shorting the top of a green candle, so you're going to be in a good position. You can put your stop loss like probably at like 156, maybe 160 if you want to be a little bit generous on stop loss. But you could just bring us right back down to the candlewick low here at $137 Solana, and I think that's you know, slap on some, you know, 10x or 20x leverage on that, and you're gonna get a nice trade out of that. So if I was trying to short Solana and day trade it, I'd be looking for that. But you can also take this down further. If we come down further, then, you know, if we're still in this descending channel here for Solana, then you're looking at like $120 Solana, and you could probably take profit right over there. And I believe that $120 Solana is the same levels. This was like a level that Solana was trading at, 120, 125 bucks back in March of 2025 here. So anybody that bought Solana around here, they're probably going to not click the sell button unless Solana loses $120 here. Okay, that's how I view Solana. I think majority of people are, well, the majority of people that bought Solana here in March and April, they're still in profit. Let me just back this up with the VRVP. See what the VRVP has to say about this. Yeah, so the VRVP, you can see you got a high volume node here at 145 bucks. Most people that bought Solana bought it at that area, okay? So as long as we're above 145 bucks, there shouldn't be any downward pressure. But if we start losing 145 bucks, then that's when I think we could see Solana come down, probably to like 120, 125 dollars. Try to generate some demand here. Yeah, and then the value area low. The value area low is sitting at 114 bucks. That's probably where, if you were in a short, you would probably try to cover it in that area if you haven't covered already, and you got a good juicy short out of that. Okay, but look at this, right? To the upside for Solana. Okay, you got a gap in the VRVP. Solana hasn't really traded at 160 bucks for like the last few months here. There's really not much resistance at that level. Solana would most likely go right back to $170 as soon as we get above this downtrend that we're in already. Okay, if we get above this downtrend, we start seeing $155, $160 Solana. You're probably not going to see that for too long, and then you're going to probably see $170 Solana, and then you might get some resistance. Let me go ahead and throw on those moving averages one more time. Moving average just says that, yeah, I think around like $168 is where Solana could get resistance. So once we push, you know, past this downtrend, we're gonna come probably right up to that 200-day moving average on Solana before we get a little bit of rejection, maybe go sideways, and then we can go up to higher prices on Solana. Let's see. Yeah, trade. Yeah, Joe. The VRVP looks very interesting on the Solana chart. You should try to take a look at that yourself here. I need to grab, you know what? Give me a quick second here, guys. I need to go grab a glass of water. I've been doing a lot of talking here. Just give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Hopefully I didn't lose my viewership. Yeah. Did a lot of talking today, or just now. Let's see what you guys said here in the chat. You're hoping, John316 is saying he's hoping that altcoin season, crypto is stressing. Is it stressing you out? Oh, it shouldn't be stressful. If it's stressing you out too much, then you might have too much on the table. You might want to take a little bit off of your positions if you're having trouble, you know, maintaining a good sleep schedule if you're worried about your crypto. Let's see. Dinner, do a fast, LOL, stay streaming. Do a 48-hour stream. Yeah, I don't think I can do a 48-hour stream. I'll be going live tomorrow afternoon, probably around like 12 to 2 p.m. around that time slot. And we'll take a look at these cryptos again. But I just wanted to get this live stream because I haven't done a live stream in a few days here, and I just wanted to say hello to you guys and go over the charts real quick here. Get a live stream video out here. Let's see what my TikTok guys are saying. Do I got some requests here? I don't see any requests. I am actually gonna stick. I got 2 more cryptos I want to take a look at before I start taking requests here. And I don't really think I have that much. I was planning on ending the live stream around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time here. But anyways, I gave you the upside, downside targets on Solana. Hopefully that gives you ideas like where Solana could possibly go. Let's take a look at XRP, okay, and then we'll look at Ethereum after that. XRP currently trading at $2.18. XRP has been making lower highs all throughout 2025 here. Okay, we topped out, what? XRP topped out in January of 2025 at $3.40. And that's it. I mean, that's all we got out of XRP, okay? And now because XRP has been making these lower highs, it has now gotten below the 200-day moving average, this red line here. And that's like kind of like the danger zone, okay? Caution zone, danger. Because if we stay below this 200-day moving average any longer than we are right now, people are going to start losing their faith and belief and conviction in XRP. Maybe not the XRP army, but the people who just got started here with XRP, they're most likely going to get frustrated. Now, granted, XRP hasn't really dropped down that much, okay? Except for like back here in April where we saw $1.60 XRP. If XRP is not able to do some things here in the near term, I do believe we will come and revisit that $1.60 level all over again. That $1.60 level is actually a 0.382 retracement level here. That's where XRP got defended here. We also have kind of like a candlewick high here at $1.63. That's very interesting to see here on November 23rd of 2024. So I would expect if XRP is not able to generate enough demand at these prices, we're probably going to meander ourselves down and slowly walk down, or maybe we just fall off a cliff here down to $1.63. But I think $1.63 should be your low target for XRP. You should try to scoop up some XRP at that area and just maybe put a tight stop loss and see if you catch the bottom on that. But if XRP can actually start catching some bids here, then yeah, if we can get above this 200-day moving average sitting at $2.36, then the next probably resistance level that we'll see is just we got to see XRP get above this last lower high that it made back in May, where we saw XRP at $2.65. Get up to $2.65, and then I believe you're gonna skyrocket right up to $3 in no time here. Because if I turn on the VRVP for this one here, okay, you're gonna see that the volume drops off significantly on the VRVP here, and you don't get that much resistance until $3.12. So I'm still eyeballing a $3 XRP. I still think $3 is gonna come back into fruition here for XRP in 2025. Like we saw back in January of 2025, but you know, the longer XRP continues staying below the 200-day moving average, it makes me think like we have to come down to lower prices just to get more people excited about XRP, okay? To actually create the demand that we need to see to go to higher prices. So those are your upside, downside targets here on XRP. Let's move on to Ethereum. Ethereum currently trading at $2,436. I got a lot of chart work here. Maybe I should use a different chart here, but I can just tell you from what I was eyeballing earlier. Let me just clean things up here, get rid of the VRVP for now. I drew some red lines here where I could see I could see Ethereum come up to 2,550 because that's mainly where that 200-day red line is sitting at. Could act as resistance, and then I think I also put another red line here at 25.27. I think that's another 200 moving average, but it's on a lower time frame. Let's look at the, yeah, I think at like on the 4-hour time frame, or maybe even like the 2-hour time frame. Yeah, no, the 4-hour time frame here, you do have the 100 moving average sitting at 25.15 right now, but I think I marked it a few days earlier. I was eyeballing that level as a possible resistance level. We have seen Ethereum actually make it up to that level, about 25.21, a little bit short of it, but in that ballpark area. And that's where these moving averages, at least on the 4-hour time frame. Let me go ahead and get rid of these lines here so you can see it better. You can see that the 50 moving average on the 4-hour time frame got respected to a T here on Coinbase Exchange. We got rejected on Wednesday here off of that 50 moving average. So these moving averages, if you're not using them, trust me, other people are using them. And there was a trader out there that decided to sell their Ethereum and probably put a big order in to sell their Ethereum once that 50 moving average got hit on the 4-hour time frame. So that's what I'm seeing here with Ethereum. Ethereum is once again kind of being boring, just like Bitcoin, and trading sideways. I have been hearing some rumors that there's probably some market manipulation going on with Ethereum. That BlackRock, which is a big investment firm on Wall Street, is trying to scoop up as much Ethereum as they can. And every time Ethereum actually gets up to higher prices, they sell the Ethereum that they have just to cause a little bit of a panic, and then they're able to buy up some cheaper Ethereum at those lower prices. And they can do that just with their leverage trading, and they could do a lot of damage just keeping Ethereum suppressed. But I believe that the longer we go sideways here for Ethereum, the more likely we're going to go to even higher prices on Ethereum. Okay, as long as we, as long as we stay at these prices, and we're already coming up from lower levels here, the longer we go sideways, the bulls are actually racking up. They're racking up and they're stacking up their Ethereum, and there's going to be a case to be made here that Ethereum is actually going to go up to higher prices the longer we go sideways here. It's kind of like what Bitcoin did last summer, where we kept trading around between $50,000 and $60,000 Bitcoin, and now look where we're at. We're at like $110,000, $107,000 Bitcoin. So, and we got that impulse move back in like September. Actually, we got that impulse move back in November when Donald Trump got elected. But let me go ahead and go back to the daily time frame here. Look at those daily moving averages here. This 200-day moving average, this red line, has acted as resistance, and I think that's where BlackRock comes in and they start selling their Ethereum. They don't have to sell a bunch of their spot Ethereum. They can just do leverage trading and really hammer it down every time it comes down to the 200-day moving average. But there's also other traders like myself, investors around the world, that are looking at the 200-day moving average, and we're going to treat it as resistance until Ethereum can actually show us that it can actually start using it as support. Right now, that 200-day moving average is at 25.51. Once we can get to 25.51 and stay above it, then we can actually probably start seeing higher prices here for Ethereum. And if Ethereum does go to higher prices here, let's go ahead and measure out the Fibonacci on that one. So I'll just measure from the top, the high water mark here at $2,800 down to about the $1,800 area. And if Ethereum does catch some bids here, we're looking at like probably the 1618, where we could see a $3,500 Ethereum in the near future here. Maybe later on this summer, maybe later on this year, but I'm still eyeballing like a $3,000 or $3,500 Ethereum, mainly because that's what I see in the charts as of now. Okay, that's the upside target that I have, that I'm going to hold on to. But if Ethereum does decide to come down to lower prices, and we're just going to make lower highs and lower lows, then we do have this 50-day moving average which acted as a beautiful support here last Sunday. We saw Ethereum get down to $2,100, $2,134 is where this moving average is sitting at, and we came down to like a little bit below that, $2,113. But yeah, I think $2,100 Ethereum should act as support for now. You also have this 0.236 retracement at $2,063. That could also act as support. I think a lot of Ethereum bulls are going to defend at least the psychological $2,000 level. All right, I think people are now viewing Ethereum as a it's at a discount when it's at 2,000 or like 2,100. So I think that should hold. If not, I would be very worried. Okay, because if Ethereum can't hold the 50 moving average and it can't hold this Fibonacci level here, then yeah, we will most likely try to revisit $1,800. But we have to break through. Like, we still have this as a support, and we still have possibly this 100-day moving average as a support as well at 2261. All right, so yeah, Ethereum does have some support Let me see. If I go into the 3-day, let's see what the 3-day. I like looking at different time frames just to see if there's anything that I might be missing that somebody else might be looking at. 3-day, we have the 21 EMA, right? The 21 EMA on the 3-day is acting as support for now. We kind of violated it here last weekend, but then we closed right above it, and that's actually on the 3-day chart here. That's like almost a hammer candle, a very big hammer candle, or at least the handle is pretty big on the wick is pretty big here on the hammer candle here. And usually a hammer candle usually means that you're getting a reversal on the price. So I would expect after the hammer candle, especially after we just had a couple of more green candles taking us to higher prices here, I would expect this to play out where we're going to see higher prices on Ethereum in the next few days, maybe later on next week. So I wouldn't give up on Ethereum just yet, just looking at this 3-day chart. This is very interesting to see this hammer candle right here. Okay, let's look at the 5-day chart. 5-day chart, interesting. So this is still on the 5-day. We've had what, the last 4 5-day candles here have been red candles here. Will we actually see a green candle? Let's see. We have like one more day here before this candle closes. Maybe maybe later on this week, if Ethereum does go to higher prices, we'll finally see the first green candle here on the 5-day chart for Ethereum. But what can I gather from this? Looks like the 21 EMA also, this white line, got respected when we actually did come down to it last week. So yeah, I think other traders and investors, they're looking at these time frames and they're placing their bets according to these moving averages here on these time frames that most people don't look at, but I still look at them because there are other professional traders out there that are looking at these these time frames, and they're playing these moving averages as best as they can. It gives them an idea as to like where they can start putting in their buy orders or their sell orders. Okay, right now, the 100-day moving average could act as resistance at 25.75 on the 5-day chart here. And then of course, look at this, to a T on the 5-day time frame here. You have the 50 moving average acting as resistance for Ethereum. So, might be worth taking a look at different time frames here, guys, especially on the longer time frames, the higher time frames, which have a lot more weight to them. The 5-day chart on Ethereum. Put in those moving averages. I got the 50 moving average, the 100 and 200, and you'll start to see like things do play out. If you see the price reverse out of nowhere, it's probably on a time frame that you haven't looked at, where there's a moving average that's acting as resistance or support. So that's what I have to say about Ethereum. I think downside targets for Ethereum, you know, I think $2,000 or $2,100 should hold as support if we do come down to that level. And then I want to see Ethereum get above, you know, obviously this last candle wick high here at $2,800 Ethereum. I want to see $2,900 or $3,000 Ethereum, and then we can start talking about Ethereum going up to $3,500 all over again, and maybe challenging that $4,000 high water mark that it made back here in December of last year. All right, let's see. John 316 is talking about ZBCN. That seems to be a very popular crypto. I know Joe also likes to trade ZBCN as well. Chris Klein is asking me, what are my thoughts on Ton and Brett? We'll take a look at Brett. Appreciate that request there. And I think that's gonna be it as far as requests goes. Let's see. Do I have anybody here on TikTok? Let's see. How do I feel about Ethereum on the weekly big picture levels? And you just hopped in. All right. Yeah, I guess we could take a look at Ethereum real quick here on the weekly chart. Just on the weekly chart for Ethereum, I don't like the fact that we're making lower highs here on Ethereum. Let me get rid of the moving average for now. You know, we topped out here in December, right? And we got that brutal downtrend all the way through March and April. And I want to see Ethereum at least get back up to $2,500 again. Okay, this is a level that I can see like a lot of sideways trading action here, going back to like November and December of 2023, and then also here in September, October of 2024. This should be a level that Ethereum needs to recapture, because if it stays below this, then all these people that bought here in 2024 and 2023, they're going to start to get a little bit discouraged, seeing that they've been in Ethereum for about a year or two, and it's below where they bought it at. They might actually be anxious to actually click the sell button if we continue being lower than $2,500 here. Okay, because they're just at break even at 2,500, but like now that we're below 2,500, we're just slightly below break even. But if we lose another 100, 200 bucks on Ethereum and stay below these levels here, they're probably gonna click the sell button. Let me go ahead and throw the moving averages just to see if I can get anything from there. Looks like, look at the moving averages here. The 100-day moving average is acting as support at 2284 for Ethereum, and then you got the 21 EMA at $2,200. So I think $2,200 is probably going to be the line in the sand. If we lose $2,200 on Ethereum, people are probably going to start giving up on Ethereum. And Ethereum's probably going to go to lower prices, and I wouldn't blame them because it is very discouraging to see that you could be holding on to this asset for about a year or two, and you're just at break even, and now you're actually losing your break even on Ethereum. Okay, so that's what I see here for Ethereum on the weekly chart. Let's move on to we'll take a look at Brett first, and then I'll see if I can look at Ton coin here. Which one do I want to look at? Brett, USDT. Let's get that off of Gate.io, see what it looks like on there. Okay, so we're looking at the weekly chart here for Brett. Brett coin currently trading at 4 cents. Brett coin has seen better days here. Obviously, in November 2024, during the meme coin explosion and excitement around crypto, we saw Brett coin trading at 23 cents, 23.5 cents here. And you got that brutal downdraft all throughout January, February, and April of 2025 here. And you just made a lower high on Brett. Okay. Could this possibly be the bottom here for Brett in March, where we saw Brett trading at almost 2.5 cents here? You want to start making higher lows and higher highs and show that you're in an uptrend. This could be the beginning of a higher high here, and this could be the beginning of a higher low, and you want to see yourself actually get above this last candle wick high of about 9 cents here on Brett. Get above 9 cents, you know, get up to like 10 cents, and you're gonna get people more excited about being in Brett. Also, you know, just being at 10 cents, you're gonna double your money from where it is right now. But I think you can just game plan. We're looking at the weekly chart for Brett. I would probably put my stop loss if I was gonna get into this coin right below at like 3 cents, 0.032 pennies maybe. Let's see, the candle wick low was at 0.033, so maybe 0.032, or just make it 3 pennies. And that should be the stop loss. And if you go lower than 3 pennies, you probably don't want to be in Brett anymore, because, I mean, it's violating, you know, this last candle wick low here. Do you really want to stick around and see how much lower it's going to go before it actually starts catching some bids here? Because it could continue coming right down to where it was here in March, where we saw 2.5 cents, and that's going to be almost like a 50% haircut from where you are right now. Do you really want to stick around for that? Probably not. But I do see the beginnings of what could possibly be the beginning of an uptrend here. You just got to make this higher low. Hopefully this is the lowest that it's going to go, and then you want to start seeing higher highs here. Now let's go into the daily chart for Brett, see what that looks like. You are below almost all your moving averages here, so that's going to be a problem, because these moving averages are going to act as resistance. Looks like your next moving average resistance is at 4.5 pennies, and then you're going to see some more resistance at 5 pennies. Okay, But get above these moving averages here, and then you're probably going to have to contend against this 200-day moving average sitting at about 6.5 cents roughly. Is where I would probably put some take profit target if I was day trading, swing trading this asset here. I think those are going to be your upside targets for your take profit. All right. We'll take a look at Toncoin now. And then I think that's going to be it. We'll finish off and look at Bitcoin one more time on the way up. But I got to start making some dinner here, guys, and because my father's coming into town, and yeah, kind of like just have like a guys' night out or whatever, hanging out with my dad, my father. I'm cooking some steak for dinner today. Me and my father. All right, so looking at Toncoin, currently trading at $2.86, up 0.25% today. We're on the daily chart for Toncoin. This is very interesting. Let me get rid of the moving averages for now. We're just looking at a naked chart, and you can see that we have been making lower highs on Toncoin. However, looks like we're actually respecting about $2.77. I can see that around this area that we're currently trading at. And Toncoin was trying to make a case here in April and in May, where it was creating some higher highs on the daily chart here. However, you lost your momentum here in June, and you started making a lower high here. So that's a bit confusing. Are we going to be going up or down here? Okay. And because it's confusing, you're starting to see that we're actually just trading sideways here on Toncoin. So let me go ahead and throw the moving averages. Let's see if there's a reason why we're getting some lower highs here. And that's probably the reason why we're getting lower high is this 100-day moving average, this blue line. Looks like it's acting as resistance for now for Toncoin. So if we do go up to higher prices here, I would expect maybe $3.30 to be your first take profit target. And if you want to push the trade further to higher prices, then the 200-day moving average is probably going to act as resistance at $3.85 here. Let me go ahead and get rid of the moving averages here, and I will do a Fibonacci analysis on this coin here. I'm just measuring from the swing low to the swing high back here in March and April. All right. Okay, so we measured from there. And I got some levels to look at. Looks like we're just hanging out near this 0.236 retracement level for Toncoin. So I think if we lose $2.80, which we're currently kind of at right now, you probably don't want to be in Toncoin because it probably means we're going to go to lower prices here. And do you really want to stick around and lose more money? Probably not. You maybe game plan, put your stop loss at 270, or maybe even below this candle wick here at $2.60, right? So I think maybe stop loss at 257, 258. If you see this thing go down and start hitting those levels, you probably want nothing to do with Toncoin because this thing probably wants to continue going down to lower prices, and there might be something wrong with this coin until you get to lower prices and someone wants to take a chance on it. But moving forward, if we do go to higher prices, and I go ahead and put those moving averages back on again, you can see right now the 100-day moving average is sitting at this 0.5 retracement level at $3.30. So I think that should be first take profit. And then, like I said, second take profit is probably going to be this 200-day moving average, which is sitting at the 786 retracement. So that's very interesting to see on the chart here for Toncoin. Trust me, if you're a Fibonacci or a moving average guy, or if you do both like myself, you're looking at these levels and you see confluence here with the 100-day at the 0.5 retracement, and you see confluence here with the 200-day at the 0.768 retracement. First take profit, second take profit. That's how I would play this coin right now. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Chris. I hope you enjoyed that analysis. Sounds like you enjoyed the analysis there. And that's how I would plan on trading this coin. You know, probably not a day trade, but you know, swing trading it. 200-day moving average. I'd probably put that as my last take profit target, and then you're just gonna have to see what it does after that. But hopefully you made your money by that point. If we go from 286 up to 380, I'll quickly measure that out, see how much of a percentage gain that is. Yeah, but you're looking for like a 35% gain from where you are right now. But yeah, I think that should be a nice, healthy profit. You know, most stocks are not able to do that in 1 year, but I think this crypto can do that for you before the end of this year, and you'll be up 35%. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for this live stream. We'll finish off here on Bitcoin. I want to see what Bitcoin looks like on the 15-minute chart. I'm actually in a small trade on Bitcoin. It's really hard to make money with Bitcoin since it's not really doing much. Well, it already did a lot in the beginning of the week, but we've only done some sideways trading. Let's take a look at this. I'll just, if you guys have been frustrated, right? Don't feel too bad about being frustrated, because after we had this little well, I wouldn't say little, but after we had this bullish engulfing candle here on Monday for Bitcoin, we've only gone up 1.8% on Bitcoin since Monday. I'm not sure how you're able to day trade 1.8%, but that's not enough to actually do anything, to be honest, besides get yourself wrecked by hitting your stop losses as you go sideways chopping. But let's take a look at the 50-minute time frame here, because that's a good time frame to start if you're day trading. And as long as we're above the 200 moving average on the 50-minute time frame, I can be bullish on Bitcoin. If we lose this 200 moving average, which is currently sitting at $107,200 Bitcoin, which is not that far away from where we are right now. But if we start losing that 200 moving average, then I probably don't want to be long in Bitcoin. I probably want to start looking for shorts. I mean, you can start looking for shorts right now if you really think Bitcoin is going to go down later on tonight and tomorrow. You can start shorting right now. Put your stop loss right above $107,600 Bitcoin, and that's the candlewick high for today, right? $107,600 Bitcoin. Okay. And your trade becomes invalidated if you get there, because that probably means that Bitcoin wants to go to higher prices here. So I'm currently in a long. I do want to see Bitcoin get up to $107,700. That's only about $350, $400 from where it is right now. I think I could still be on this in this leverage long on Bitcoin, and my stop loss is right below the 200 moving average. If we lose the 200 moving average, then that probably means we're probably going to go down to lower prices in the near term here for Bitcoin, and I don't want to stick around and lose more money on my day trade. I want to be out once we lose this 200-day moving average on the 15-minute time frame here. Okay, so that's how I'm game planning my day trades here on Bitcoin. Let's see if we got what the oscillator's looking at on the 15-minute time frame. We're making some higher lows on the RSI. That's good to see. Okay, so maybe we will see higher prices later on tonight for Bitcoin. It would be nice to see $108,000 to $109,000. I think that's where my take profit target is on my leverage long. I have to look at it again, but I believe I put it at $109,000. I'm not trying to be too greedy here. And I do see that we had some selling pressure about an hour ago, 2 hours ago here, and we're getting some buying pressure here. So buyers are stepping in. Stochastics are a little bit high, okay, but we want them to stay high because that means we're going to higher prices, right? if we're longing, we want to see high stochastics, but it could also mean that, you know, we are going to be topping out here soon, at least in the near term. But using my little cheat sheet, Market Cipher B does say on the 15-minute time frame at like 5:15 Eastern time, which is about an hour ago, we did get a green buy dot. Okay, saying that, yeah, that was a good time to buy about an hour ago for Bitcoin. And the thing about the green dot is, after the green dot comes a red dot. When you see the red dot show up on the 15-minute time frame, that's probably you know, a good time to sell. It probably means that there's going to be some selling pressure coming in. But I think, you know, it's steady as she goes for Bitcoin. I do see higher lows here. Let me go ahead and try to clean things up here a little bit. I do see on the 50-minute time frame, we did make higher, you know, we got a low here at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then another low here. And yeah, just put your stop loss right below there if you're day trading at $107,100 Bitcoin. And hopefully you won't have to lose too much money if this trade gets invalidated on us. All right, guys, that's it for me here on the live stream. Be on the lookout for my next live stream. I'll try to go live tomorrow afternoon between like 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. Be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that's going to be it for this live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And don't forget to hit that like button on the way out, especially if I went over one of your altcoins and you got some good insights here on these assets here. Take care, guys.